Do you have a child who needs to learn how to read but doesn't enjoy the process of learning how to read? Or maybe you've tried some of those boring readers that don't have much of a plot, but your kids get frustrated with them and discouraged. If that's the case, then I want to share an alternative with you today that I'm really excited about and something that I think will help you make the process of learning to read so much more fun for your kids. And it is side-by-side stories. So side-by-side stories are a story that includes specific pages for parents to read and specific pages for children to read. And I have an example of one here. This book is called Happy Birthday Bear, and it is a part of the Reading Better Together curriculum that teaches kids how to read using these side-by-side stories. So inside the book, it has two different kinds of pages. It has pages for parents to read that have a lot of text, and then pages for kids to read that have much less text. So in this example, the parents are going to be reading this page, page 5, and the kids are going to be reading the word am on page 6. So parents are going to read this whole section about giraffe and the birthday, and then the kids are going to read just the word am. There are a few reasons why these side-by-side stories work really well for kids that are learning how to read. The first one is that it gives kids access to a much better story much sooner. So in order for them to be able to read one of those readers, they need to know a pretty big vocabulary of different sounds and words in order to create a cohesive story. And many of the books do not create a very cohesive story in an effort to just have kids reading only the sounds that they know. Also, a lot of those books really encourage guessing, as kids might be just learning a pattern and then reading the words within that pattern. That's not really reading, that's actually guessing, and that can be problematic for kids because it teaches them that reading is a system of guessing, which it is not. However, in a side-by-side storybook, it has a more complex story that is more interesting for kids and more motivating for them to be able to read, and while still only giving them just a small piece of the story to read themselves. The second reason why side-by-side stories are great for kids who are learning how to read is because it gives kids a break as they're reading. The process of reading out loud can be really exhausting for a child, even if it's just a short reader with only a few pages or a few words per page. And so when kids are reading a side-by-side story, they know that all they will need to do is read the text on their page, and then they will get to take a break and listen to their parent read their page. And so it gives kids just a defined amount of text to read before they know that a break is coming. And this can help kids to be more motivated to read and less frustrated by the process of reading. The third reason why side-by-side stories work really well is because they give kids a reward. So after the kids finish reading their page, then they get to listen to their parent read. The third reason why side-by-side stories are great for kids is because they give kids a reward. So after your child gets done reading their page, then they get to listen to the parent read their page. And they get to take a break for a minute or two while they get read to. And hearing a parent read a book out loud is often very fun for kids and something that they really enjoy. And so I love that the side-by-side stories incorporate that as a part of reading practice. Your child hearing you read aloud is something that's very important and something that is a lot of fun and very motivating for kids. And then finally, side-by-side stories allow kids to see the goal that they're working towards, because your kids are reading an actual book with pages and a cover. And this is a great way for them to really get excited about the process of learning to read and to see what they're working towards. When kids are only ever reading a bunch of flashcards or some reading lessons out of a reading book, it can be hard for them to see that this process of learning to read is what's going to move them towards being able to read the books that they love on their own. And so anytime that you can get your kids reading a book, it will help them to be able to see that this is the process that they're working towards. And that's really important in keeping kids motivated through the process of learning to read. So I love the idea of using side-by-side stories for kids who are learning to read. And I've created a reading curriculum called Reading Better Together that uses these side-by-side stories as the basis of the whole curriculum. Kids work through scripted lessons, and then they read the side-by-side stories that go along with them that include only the words and letters that they have practiced. And this is a great way for kids to really have fun with the process of learning how to read and to be motivated throughout that process. If you're interested in learning more about reading better together, I'll put a link in the description of the video where you can get more information.